Ginga ginga.
Hello everybody, Infernape Shinjo here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Anime. And even though it's probably not as long in between the last one and this one for you, it has probably been a couple of months. Because there were times where I only had a couple of requests at a time, so I had to find stuff to watch in my own time. But now I got a whole bunch of requests, and I finally got around to watching a couple of them, and judging from the title, you know what it's going to be, so let's just jump into it. So up first is Problem Children Are Coming From Another World, Aren't They? Which is a really long title, so I'm just going to call it Problem Children. So this one is very interesting. I am not sure entirely how to feel about this. It's a cool concept, and realistically, I'm interested in it. And a little bit of backtracking before I actually go into the anime itself. I watched this on Easter Sunday. No joke. So, needless to say, I was flabbergasted when I saw a rabbit girl literally pop up, and I'm thinking, I'm literally watching this on Easter Sunday. So it works out perfectly. But yeah, basically, it's been a while since I've watched this. And I've only seen the first episode, but from what I gather, the first episode basically introduces us to three geniuses. They have their own special things. They come to this other world. To be honest, I don't remember what they're doing in that other world. I think they are like trying to rebuild society. I don't remember. I might be thinking of Outbreak Company, but it's something like that. Basically, you got these brilliant people that are coming to this isekai world. I really don't remember. Let me pull out my phone. Alright, so I finally got a picture up. Okay, that's not telling me anything about it. But fun fact, it is made by Diomedia, who also did a lot of other anime that I liked. I think they did Squid Girl as well, so that's cool. And they did Chio's School Road. Okay, here we go. They're going to a place called Little Garden. They have gifts, which are the supernatural powers. Oh, high stakes games known as gift games to get wealth and prestige for their communities. That's right. I remember now. And of course, Demon Lords are there because, of course, Demon Lords are there. Yeah, see, it's weird because even though I said I'm interested in this show, I didn't actually remember what happened. But that was a couple of months ago since I watched it. Probably a couple of months now. But yeah, I'm interested in it. But at the same time, I haven't watched past episode 1 yet. I mainly did that because I'm kind of curious in watching the show on my own. And as weird as it sounds, I didn't want to watch more than 3 episodes or 1 episode of it because I was just watching it in my own time anyway. Because just from the picture, the idea of it, I thought it was just going to be super generic. And to an extent, it kind of is, but it actually has me interested. So I might actually continue watching it in my own time. If I will, I'm probably going to do a follow-up video on it. But overall, I like a lot of stuff with it. The only thing that I'll say outside of the good stuff that I already praised about it is the so-called smart characters, which, judging from this, let me see if I can remember. So, we got the dude, who is the dude, because why not? We got the girl in the red dress. I'm assuming that she's a rich girl, because why wouldn't she be? And then we got the other girl who's probably a tomboy or something like that. I think she can do something with sounds or whatever. I think she could talk to animals, I believe, but I can't remember. But like, outside of those 3 characters, because they're like super smart, they just seem a little bit flat compared to characters like the rabbit girl, which I can't remember her name. I want to say it's Usagi just because that literally means rabbit, but that's probably not it. But like when you compare the smart characters to some of the other characters in the show, it just seems that they're kind of boring. But that might change when I watch more of the episodes. I don't know. Overall, pretty good. Gonna continue watching it. So, yeah. What is up next? Oh, no. Okay, hold on. Let me move this over a little bit to actually make it look nice. Oh, boy. So, this is actually really interesting. I don't know how far the comment is buried down now, but a few months ago, somebody shared on my Discord that I didn't discuss a topic for Let's Talk Anime, Pop Team Epic. And to be quite honest, I didn't remember that. I checked on the video on my own time, and it was there. They even sent me a screenshot, but I wanted to check for myself. I don't know how far that comment was buried in the Discord, but basically, this is probably a few years later than what I should have discussed it. But just going off of the start of it, Pop Team Epic. I'm pretty sure if you were an anime fan back when, you know what Pop Team Epic is. So I don't feel the need to explain that. To be quite honest, I couldn't explain it if I wanted to. But what's weird is I watched the episode on Crunchyroll. I clicked onto episode 1. It's starting, and it looks nothing like Pop Team Epic. So, needless to say, I was really confused. They were showcasing it as something called Hoshiro Girl Drop, which, in all honesty, sounds like an interesting concept in itself. I'll get to that part later. But, I can't remember the names. One of them is Papako, one of them is Pipimi. I think Papako is the shorter one. I don't remember. But one of the girls just pops out and just says, "Hi, I'm here." I mean, that's not what she says, but basically. So that whole first couple of minutes of showing Hoshiro Girl Drop was all just a prank, bro. But it's one of those things where if you didn't know what to expect, then you might think that was the actual anime. And to be quite honest, they're keeping up that joke really far. At the end of every episode, they have a preview saying, like, here's what's happening next episode in Hoshiro Girl Drop. Which, in all honesty, I would actually watch that. Even though it sounds kind of generic, I would genuinely be interested in watching it. But let me go off of what I knew about Pop Team Epic at first. I just knew it was all comedy. And my first thought is this show was just annoying, for lack of a better word. I don't want to say that negatively, even though it certainly sounds negative. But it just seemed like it was something that is very niche. And while it might have been something I would like, it's kind of iffy. But basically, this anime is all memes. If you like memes, then you're gonna like it. Like, they literally spawned the beef or chicken meme in the very first episode. And to be quite honest, there are some scenes that I actually liked and laughed at. But most of it was kind of eh. I mean, not bad per se, but it's kind of like a thing with like any sort of sketch comedy show. It just has joke after joke after joke, and it just jumps from scene to scene. If you didn't like one joke, they got another one ready for you. But me not liking it as much as other people is probably the oversaturation of scenes that I see, that it's just getting too much. And I don't want it to come off as just because they're broadcasting a lot means that it's just too popular for me. Like Charizard and Pokemon, for example. They gave it 2 Mega Evolutions. They gave it Gigantamax. He's oversaturated. That's partially the reason I'm not as big a fan of Charizard as other people. But at the same time, I don't want that to be the only reason. Although I'm sure it sounds like it. But I would say overall, I knew a little bit about it, and I just felt that it was kind of annoying. But after watching it, a lot of the scenes make me laugh. If not laugh, just a little chuckle. But overall now, I'm just kind of indifferent to it. It's something that, yeah, it's probably interesting to watch just because of all the jokes. But it's not going to be something that I actively seek out to watch. And I'm sure that there's probably an exception to this somewhere on my channel. But overall, I just don't like random comedy when it comes to stuff like this. Like with Asabi Asabase, it's all centered around the school. With this show, they could be in one place 1 minute and then go to Paris in the exact next scene. I don't mind watching comedy, but I do want some form of grounding in it. And this isn't really a negative, it's more like a middle of the road sort of thing. It's basically only 10 minutes. Because the first part is the scenes, in a normal way. And then the second part of it is different voices and just minor changes in the dialogue. But it's just basically the same scene. Although at the same time, that makes it so a lot more anime voice actors and actresses can play roles in the dub and the sub of this. And I think Joey the Anime Man might have been in the dub of this. I'm not entirely sure. I want to say it's true, but I don't know for sure. The last good thing that I'll say about it is the ending, or I guess the song that plays after the end of each group scene. I'm not sure if you consider that an ending because it plays in the middle of the episode. I think it's called Poppy Pappy Day or whatever. That song is actually a really good bop. It just feels really upbeat. But one thing that I do want to stress before I go on to the next one is just because it was popular when it came out doesn't necessarily mean it's the reason that I don't like it. I mean, there are a lot of popular anime that I do still watch to this day. Which brings me to my last point. Kind of a perfect segue into that. Jujutsu Kaisen. So, yeah, another anime that made a big splash in the community. Everybody talks about it. It's really overhyped to an extent. I'm sure people would argue that. But I watched this and actually enjoyed it. Now, granted, it's an entirely different genre from comedy to action shonen. But, this is something that I genuinely enjoyed. And it started with Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, which is a weird way to include it and to begin this. But he has watched Jujutsu Kaisen, from what I can gather. I'm not sure how far he is into it yet. But he brought up there's an Easter egg in, what was it? Episode 4? I think it was. To give context, the episode where Gojo shows all those movies to Itadori saying, here's how we're going to train. Apparently in that group, there is a picture of a movie that looks like the Bonds Beyond Time poster, which is really wild. And that's the main reason Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything covered it on his channel. And from there I thought, okay, this sounds really interesting. At the same time, it's kind of something that's really hyped up, so it might be actually good. And I watched it, and I actually enjoyed it. It's a really good show, and unlike a lot of other shonen like Hunter x Hunter, for example, that has the long Chimera Ant arc, it doesn't feel like much time is wasted in Jujutsu Kaisen, and any scene that is plays out the exact amount of time that it needs to. But let me go on to the specific positives that I wrote down here. To start off, this show has some really strong and interesting and fun characters. For starters, you have Itadori, the main character, who at the start is kind of like the plucky shonen protagonist, the usual stereotype. But his whole development, especially with his grandfather at the start, is really cool to see. And then you got Megumi. Megumi's a fun character. And Nobura Kugasaki. I really like those three. I know a lot of people like Gojo at the same time. They're saying, oh, he's so handsome. For me, I'm just like, yeah, he's cool. Not really, I don't know, because they might be further ahead in the source material, but Gojo's cool, but he has a sort of a mentor role. He's not really grabbing me like other people, apparently. But I don't know. I don't want to say out of all these shonen that I watch, this is the best group that we have. When you have Itadori, Megumi, and Kugisaki, you got those three in this show. And then Hunter x Hunter, for example, you got Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio. I don't want to say this is the strongest group from the group of shonen anime, but it's certainly up there. They're all strong characters in their own right. But on the subject of characters, let me talk to you for a couple of minutes of my personal favorite character in this anime. And it is not any of the characters that I've described. If anything, I would say Kugisaki might be a number 2, maybe, I'm not sure. But my absolute favorite character is Mami. Mami, the blue-haired, useless character, is my favorite. You might think it's bad for me to talk to her saying that she's useless, but she literally calls herself useless, and that's just hilarious. That's not the main reason I like her. Obviously, there are a bunch of other things, like I like characters with blue hair, and I really like the design. But I think the fact that she is the source of most of the comedy in the second half of the show is really funny. Because with an anime like this, where it's all action, you need characters to have comedy. But like, I saw Mami's introduction in the first episode she was in, and I thought, okay, she's just kind of standoffish, and she literally runs out the door to get Gojo's autograph. That's just hilarious. But yeah, that's really all I can say about Mami as a character. I really like the design. It's a shame that she doesn't get as much screen time as she deserves, but hey, this show's got a big group of cast, and a lot of them are really good characters. And the next thing I liked is the animation's really good and the fight scenes are on point. Like, there's a lot of fight scenes in this, as I'm sure with any shonen would be. And a lot of them are really top tier. I don't want to go on to say which one's my favorite because there are a lot of them. I really do like Itadori and my besto friendo fighting against that dude with horns in his eyes. I can't remember what his name actually is. Isn't it like... It's 4 letters, I think. I can't remember. Todo. It's Todo. I don't remember why I remember that out of nowhere, but I just remembered. But I don't want to say that's my favorite because I also like Kugisaki and Itadori facing off against those two things at the very end of the show. That was really good too. There's a lot of impressive fight scenes in the show. And the last thing that I really liked is the concept alone. Like, okay, it's kind of standard fare. You got the spirit sort of creatures and all of this generic looking stuff. But then you got Sukuna fingers, of all things, that Itadori eats. Still doesn't like it, but he still eats some more. Interesting. But it's really unique in that sense. Because, like, he eats a finger of Sukuna's, he gets Sukuna inside of him, and then we get back to present day that started the first episode with Gojo saying, hey, since you have Sukuna inside of you, we gotta kill you now. But we're gonna wait until you gather all of the fingers. So it's one of those things where this show kind of goes off the rails at times with what they do, that honestly, when Itadori gathers all the fingers, I could see it going both ways. I could see them saying, well, you've managed to tame Sukuna, so we'll let you live or whatever. Or they couldn't. Honestly, they could go either way with it. But really, this show is overall good. It was kind of hard for me to pick some things that I didn't like. But besides Mami not getting enough screen time, there wasn't much I could think of. But I have a couple of things. The first thing is... I can't even remember his name. That kid that Itadori befriends, that works with Mahito, whatever that kid's name is. They built that up in the first opening, that he was going to be part of their squad or whatever, and he just doesn't. I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but it just feels like they kind of hinted at it, and then just said, oh, no, you know what? Psych! Nope, he's not being part of this group at all. Which, I don't know. It's kind of a nitpick, but it just feels like they hinted for no reason. And on the subject of that, in... Oh, what episode was it? It was 6 or 7, right around that point, where Sukuna comes out, rips Itadori's heart out, whatever. I talked about not spoiling anything, but here I am. But Sukuna forms that pact with Itadori for Itadori to resurrect, but whenever Sukuna says a certain phrase, I can't remember what it was, they switch spots and Sukuna takes over for a couple of minutes, I can't remember, maybe 10 minutes? But for the rest of the season, nothing happens from it. I really thought they built that up saying, oh, Sukuna's gonna come back at the worst possible time and just ruin things for Itadori. But Sukuna does not do anything for the rest of the show. The exception of a couple of cameos every now and then. But like, from the way they built it up, I thought for sure Sukuna would come back in the worst possible scenario and just start going on a rampage. But I don't know. They could still do that in the second season. But overall, really good anime. I'd say the difference between this and a show like Pop Team Epic, where both of them are hyped up, is that this actually has a concrete story. Pop Team Epic is just all comedy. And when you have no story basis to go off of, it's hard for people to keep interested. It was, at least for me. But even though the show is really overhyped, I would say if you want to watch a good shonen, this is where you need to go. But that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Talk Anime. Like I said, I've been getting a lot of requests recently. So if you give me a request and I don't get to it right away, it's just because I have a lot of stuff built up. And at the same time, Jujutsu Kaisen wasn't recommended to me. I just wanted to talk about it. So, yeah. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you next time. Momentai.